So, folks, good evening. This meeting of Brooklyn Community Board 14 is called to order on Monday, June 17th, 2024 at 7 p.m. under the applicable statutes of New York State, the Charter of New York City, the board's bylaws, and Robert's Rules of Order. The board's policy is to encourage detailed public discussion of matters before the board at our committee meetings and at public hearings. Consequently, except by board members, there will be no public discussion at our regular monthly meetings of matters about which a public hearing or committee meeting has been held. Specific service delivery requests or complaints should be brought to the attention of the district's office staff by calling the board office during regular business hours or by visiting our website anytime. Other matters of civic interest may be brought before the board during our scheduled public comment period, which will begin tonight after all other business on the board's monthly meeting agenda has been concluded. No partisan political appeals or advertising of for-profit enterprises will be heard. Persons wishing to speak during the public comment period were asked to pre-register. So now we'll move on to attendance. I ask that when recently board members' names are called, could you please rise briefly and state your presence. Recently appointed. My bad. I ask that when recently appointed board members' names are called, could you please rise briefly and state your presence before sitting back down? This is a great way for myself and others just to better connect faces with names. So thank you very much for your participation. So with that being said, Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Cesar.
Here.
Thank you. Florencia Changajita, present. Yvette Clerjean. Stephen D. Cohen.
Here.
Elizabeth Dennis. Present. Derek Donald. Sabina Dorville.
Did you catch him? He just walked in. Derek Donald.
Derek Donald? Okay.
Sorry.
Sabina Dorville. Joseph Dweck.
Here.
Hatem El Gamasi.
Yes.
Gerald Gray.
Here.
Suzanne Argett. Lee Harmon. Musa Hassoun, William Attar, Nautica Johnson, Erica Phillips Jones, Shahid Khan,
Present.
Alex Lesman, Naomi Lipnick, Donald Loggings, Sasha Maslewski, Melissa Minnick, Ephraim Nirenberg, Eric Ost,
Present.
Ornella Parker, Nora Pena, Suzanne Phillip, Zvi Plotska, Barden Prasant, Bazaruhi, Nina Sapgir, Joel Siegel, oh my gosh, turn it on. Gail L. Smith, Tova Svenberg. How do you say your name?
Zenberg.
Zenberg, thank you for the correction. Abraham Treff. Deborah Valentin. Deborah Valentin. Dawn Marie Walker. Here. Kendall Washington. Here. Glenn Wallen. Here. Thank you.
Secretary, just calling out that Musa Hassoun is here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Secretary. So now we move on to the minutes. District Manager, were there any changes to the minutes received via email? Okay. Are there any changes to the provided minutes from the floor? So hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the May General Board meeting? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any ineligible? So the minutes for the May 2024 General Board meeting are adopted. Thank you. So now we go to the District Manager's report.
Good evening, everybody. So great to see so many people from the community in the room tonight. Welcome. I will report on some of the events and meetings that I've attended since our last meeting. We did hold a district service cabinet meeting last year, and for our new members and members of the community, that's where we meet with all of the city agencies serving our district to talk about district level concerns. Our June meeting is also where we talk about district level budget needs, and so I got a little intel from the street level workers serving our community, and we'll add in some of their feedback to our district needs statement and our budget requests come fall. I am really excited to announce that this year we will be hosting an SYEP employee. Her name is Mozen Abdo. I don't know that you will meet her unless you stop by and say hello over the summer. She'll be working with us Monday through Friday, 5 hours a day, and we're really excited to have somebody on board, and I think we'll get some support, but also we'll have some fun projects for her to assist with. I will announce that our board member who wasn't reappointed but who served this board for a long time with distinction, our own Edward Powell, was honored by the New York State Department for the Aging. Very well deserved, and I'm excited to announce that because we nominated him. Ed is awesome. We've had a couple of Future of Community Board meetings, and one was with our Government Ops Committee, which is chaired by Councilmember Lincoln Ressler. And he took great notes, said back to us what we had said to him, is going to be working on some of the requests and support us. And many of you have heard me talk about what those requests are. Our Future of Community Boards report is on our website. If you're curious as to what they are, just one example is more support for language translation and interpretation services. And so I will report back on where we get with those requests now that it seems like we have a champion at the City Council level. Prospect Park Alliance meetings. There's another one tomorrow night at the picnic house, and there's a lot going on clearly in the park in the summertime. The 70th precinct, you'll hear more about that from our Community Safety Committee. And their last meeting of the season will be the last Wednesday of this month. Somebody's going to have to help me with the date because I've been getting my dates wrong. The 26th, 27th. 26. Thank you. So they have a short meeting and then a nice gathering outside for those of you who wish to join them on that Wednesday. Speaking of dates, I got one wrong. On Monday, the 24th. There are two meetings. I know new members were, and even members who are reappointed, were called to Borough Hall for a swearing-in ceremony and some training that they will provide. For those of you who have opted out of that opportunity, or those who weren't planning on it, there's another event going on, and it's the Future of Community Boards working with the Center for Urban Pedagogy, put together a panel that will be talking about community board term limits and the impact on boards. We've talked about that as a board. I think it will be an interesting panel. It's at the Fund for the City of New York offices at 121 Avenue of the Americas. Call the office for more information, and if you go, I'll see you there. Board members, you have your committee preference forms. Please fill them out. You have the whole summer to do it, but do it now because you'll forget come August. And give us the office a call if you have any questions. If you are a newer member and you're not sure about your committee of choice, go ahead and review the many YouTube videos and try to get a flavor for each one, and then decide accordingly. And of course, again, we're around with any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh. I like this new board.
And so thank you very much for that report, District Manager Kimball. And so now we move to the chair's report. Spoiler alert, it will be a very robust, long one. So giving you that heads up. So good evening, folks. I first want to tell those who celebrated the Feast of the Sacred Heart, I hope you did so well. And for those who celebrated Shavuot, I hope it treated you well. For those who can make the Hajj, I wish you safe travels to and from. And for those who celebrate Eid al-Adha, may it be a joyous celebration. You're welcome. And for those who celebrate Litha, may it be a pleasant celebration. I also would like to remind folks that June is Pride Month and Caribbean American Heritage Month. So I take this time to thank these communities for their contributions to our society. And I hope that folks who hold either or both of these communities dear have a vibrant month of celebration. And I also wish folks a deeply reflective Juneteenth. And so continuing on to the next piece, I would be remiss not to thank the board members who no longer serve on Community Board 14. And so I'm going to read all these names till the end, and then after that, I would like some applause for them. So these individuals are Morty Husarski, Talisha Sainville, Corazon Valiente, Lorraine Blake Reed, Ed Powell, Michelle Brunson, Mohammed Razvi, Mark Cohen, Mehdi Harris, Yehuda Eckstein, Moshe Schoenfeld, Carmen Serio Bell, and Boris Noble. So please join me in a round of applause. So another detail too, since June started crazily and it will end insanely, the CB14 annual reception will take place in September. So details forthcoming. Now, next up, procedural, do I have a motion to empower the committee of the whole? And for the newly appointed board members, the highly abridged summary is that committee of the whole is a mechanism through which the community board can weigh in on items usually urgent outside of the community board calendar year, so outside of September through June, or within the calendar year for special circumstances. So do I have a motion? Second. Excellent. So all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any ineligible? Thank you. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a recap of the Brooklyn Borough Board meeting, and then after that we're going into the City of Yes housing opportunity. So the June Brooklyn Borough Board meeting took place on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. Some key agenda items were the following: a vote on the parking requirement in City of Yes housing opportunity, and a public hearing on the City of Yes housing opportunity. With regards to the vote on the parking requirement in City of Yes housing opportunity, context is required. So in the May Brooklyn Borough Board report meeting, a community board chairperson made a motion asking that the Department of City Planning remove all references to eliminating mandatory parking from the presentations and the proposed text amendment itself. That motion was seconded. However, another community board chairperson requested to table that motion until the next borough board meeting, so that way community boards would have more time to review the proposal. So that motion was seconded and it was passed, so that's why this vote on the parking requirement was moved to the June Brooklyn Borough Board meeting, okay? So when this item was up, there was a spirited discussion on how some of the community boards felt about parking. Some had yet to meet to discuss the proposal, and others felt that deeper conversations had to be had regarding trade-offs. So in the end, a motion was made and seconded to vote on having that parking vote before even voting on the parking. So that motion did not pass and the vote on the parking did not take place. So next up was a public hearing on the City of Yes housing opportunity. So as the Department of City Planning, which I will refer to from this point as DCP, began its presentation, some attendees asked if this presentation was the same as one that had been shown before. DCP said yes, and some attendees asked why is the same thing being shown. DCP replied that since this was a public hearing, the presentation had to be shown. However, it would be a shortened version of it. So once DCP finished the presentation, the public comment period began. Some of the comments were questions about impact, what percentage of homeowners the low density portion will address, and what were the findings regarding an ADU pilot, which stands for accessory dwelling unit. Some questions on scope and scale. Some people felt it was too broad a plan. Would it fit? And also accessibility. What about people with disabilities? What about people in flood-prone areas? So after the public testimony was complete, there was member discussion. So some of the questions were on impact, like projected drop in rent, target vacancy, questions about transparency and affordability. So during the conversation regarding vacancy rates, DCP did state that vacancy rate data is based on an HPD survey, and they said that while that survey does contain info at the borough level, it does not contain that info at the neighborhood or community board level. So after discussion was done, it turns out a vote couldn't be taken because by the end of the discussion, enough people had left that quorum was no longer present. And so that's the summary of the Brooklyn Borough Board meeting in June. So now I'm going to the City of Yes Housing Opportunity Public Hearing. Okay. So on Tuesday, June 11th, at the Brooklyn Community Board 14 District Office, a public hearing was held. The purpose of this hearing was to invite public comment on a proposed zoning text amendment referred to as the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. On April 29, 2024, DCP began the formal public review process by referring out the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity citywide zoning text amendment ULURP number N24029-0ZRY and CEQR 24D CP033Y. The application for the zoning text amendment is subject to community board review and comments, and recommendations on this application are due by July 8th, 2024. There was just over 1 hour of public testimony. For the members of the public who testified against the City of Yes housing opportunity, some of the themes across their testimony were the following, but not limited to areas. Feelings of distrust due to this proposal feeling like it discredits the work done in the 2009 Flatbush rezoning. Questions about where is the affordable housing in the plan. Folks saw the housing but not the affordability. Concern that the plan is too general. Concerns about the impact on existing infrastructure and the neighborhood. And concern about definitions of landmark status and wide streets. For the members of the public who testified in support of the City of Yes housing opportunity, some of the themes across their testimony were the following, but not limited to areas. NYC has an affordable housing crisis and action needs to be taken. Removing the parking mandate is vital to releasing the rent burden and helping make additional housing affordable. And a little bit of housing everywhere will help the overall housing affordability crisis. So after the recommendation for transit-oriented development had been voted on, a minority report question was raised. At the meeting, I said yes. After much thought and deliberation, I am now saying no to the minority report ask. I am saying no because the discussion at the public hearing provided and the forthcoming discussion for the recommendations will provide space for board members to share their viewpoints. Yes, I know that a minority report was presented for the City of Yes for economic opportunity. I respect that decision. As the current chair, this is the decision I am making for today. For a long-term answer, I want us to discuss the minority report more thoroughly in our fall executive committee meeting, and this committee meeting will be open to all board members to attend. So do I have any questions from the board members regarding this item for the minority report? And I will limit it to one item per board member. Board member Denise? Yes.
So just to clarify, when you say that there's additional space for this, I just wanted to point out that part of the reason I had recommended this was because 6 of the approximately 25 people who spoke had said that they supported this in full or supported this specific transit-oriented development thing. So I just want to understand a little better how that will be reflected, because you said that there's space for other board information in the testimony, but my understanding is that by not putting in a report, like I don't know how I would put in information for that. Is that just as an individual, or is that not?
Sure. So thank you for that. And so what I will do is when I get to that specific piece of this, there's a note section that includes some of the other things that we talked about. And also, after every item that we discuss, after every item, when I give the summary of it, I'm going to ask, are there any questions from board members on this? And so that's a place where board members can raise that. So exactly the point you mentioned about that testimony, right? That's a perfect place to do that too. So that's the reason for that. So there will be an avenue for sharing that as well too. Cool. Are there any? Thank you for that. Are there any other questions from board members regarding that specific piece for the minority report? Okay. Oh wait, sorry. Yes, board member Hassoun.
Thank you. I respect the decision of the chair in this case. The only thing I'm just going to register, at least, is that the effect of your decision in combination with the prior decision is that when there's a minority that wants to support a city initiative, a certain process is adopted. And then when there's a minority that wants to undermine or speak out against a city initiative, then a different process is adopted. It's not your fault because you weren't the chair at the time. I'm not putting this on you, but the optics of it don't look ideal. So as we think about minority reports and how we use them in the long run, we should kind of keep that in mind. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thank you very much for sharing that. And so, so there's two pieces to that. And so the minority report is a very tough piece of the Robert's Rules of Order, right? Because within the latest edition, there's basically language that says there is a mechanism to basically submit the minority report. However, Robert's Rule says that it's a right, not a privilege. And so depending on the board, they can interpret that way. The second thing too is there's a mechanism where usually what happens is the minority report needs to be presented after the major recommendation of the committee. And then the second piece is that if there's an objection to the presentation of that minority report, then a motion has to be made and it has to be seconded, and then it needs a majority vote to accept it, and that's a non-debatable vote. And so the reason why I'm leaning towards not doing it today, because there is a mechanism for us to hear all those viewpoints, and also wanting us to have a longer term discussion about it, is because in a worst case scenario, depending on the makeup of the people in the room, you could have the minority report be dependent on a popularity vote. And that's bad, right? Like, that's a scenario we want to avoid. And so that's why, for the purposes of this, I definitely do feel there will be an avenue for people to share all the comments and the feedback within that. And I also agree with you that when we have our discussion in the fall, we'll think through more thoroughly all the scenarios that can come through and come up with a robust solution. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the minority report? Okay, thank you. And so this takes us to, give me a second, let me check my agenda real quick. And here we are. Okay, so this takes us to the first item. So this takes us to transit-oriented development, low density. And so the very high-level summary is that this allows 3 to 5 story apartment buildings on large lots that are on wide streets, 75 feet, or corners and within 0.5 miles of subway or rail stations. Recommendation from board members present at the hearing, and what the recommendation means is a vote came and this was the vote that passed, okay? Do not approve with the following conditions unless the Victorian Flatbush neighborhoods involved in the 2009 rezoning, including Westwood Midwood Neighborhood Association, Ditmas Park West Neighborhood Association, Beverly Square West Association, the Caton Park Association, SMRA, South Midwood Residents Association, are carved out for a time sufficient to engage in a meaningful public process where they can come to a decision that makes sense for their communities. So notes. So the notes include submitted letters from neighborhood associations some of the conversations, right? It was reconsidering or adjusting the definition of wide streets. For example, streets with medians, Dorchester was also mentioned. We require a public process for COYO applications in Victoria and Flatbush, similar to the process for special permit districts. Allow for a landmarks designation process to commence for the non-landmark neighborhoods. Consider Midwood in the conditions. Recalibrate the zoning scheme in Victoria and Flatbush using the 2009 rezoning. Require some level of affordability, and flat out no. And so with that recap, are there any questions from board members regarding this specific item? Board Member Denise? Yep. Mm-hmm.
I just want to note, because a lot of board members were not in attendance at this meeting, some of the things I had said about why I did not vote for this motion and would urge people not to, is that when we exclude entire neighborhoods, especially ones that tend to be wealthier and whiter, we are pushing development onto the remaining parts of our neighborhoods, perhaps in an inequitable way. And, you know, there's been a lot of time since the 2009 rezoning, and the housing crisis has only worsened. And as someone who's had to look for housing in the area since that time, I can say that both it's very hard, and also that the largely single-family detached homes that are most protected by excluding the 2009 rezoning, which I do think was well-intentioned, but, you know, having looked at the look back from it, had changed some of the development patterns into pushing it away from these wealthier homes, or these more expensive homes, to other parts of our district. I don't particularly view that as equitable. So I just wanted to, you know, urge people to see that. And also just to note that I don't think that this recommendation really reflects that there were a strong number of people, largely who tend to live in apartment buildings, from my notes of their public testimony, who were in favor of this and had mentioned that development like the development this would allow, these buildings being smaller than a lot of the apartment buildings throughout Victoria and Flatbush, are the only reason they're able to live in the neighborhood and potentially even stay in the city. So just wanted to provide that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Denise. And so do I have any other questions? And what I will do too, just for the sake of time, I will limit each board member to one response. And so I see Board Member Wolin and then Board Member Siegel. Yes. Oops, we got some feedback.
You have to hold it solo rock star style.
Hi. Some of you know that I was involved with the rezoning in 2009. And I just want to add a little point of information. When city planning allowed for downzoning, it required corridors of upzoning, which we supplied. Coney Island Avenue is one of them. The east side of Coney Island Avenue was upzoned. Now, the developers have not yet taken advantage of that, but it isn't as if there is no opportunity for development. There has been some paperwork that came through that on the west side of Coney Island Avenue, which is CB12, where Kentucky Fried Chicken is, that maybe an 11-story building will go up, and adjacent to that, possibly a 15-story building. It's too early to know if these things will happen, but there are areas to allow for a lot of additional units without coming into the Victorian neighborhoods. That's it. Thank you.
Folks, please hold your applause. Thank you. Please hold your applause. Thank you. I saw Board Member Siegel. Was there anyone else who had a question, or none other? Oh, after Board Member Siegel, Board Member Hassoun, and then Board Member Minnick.
First of all, welcome to our new members. You know, I live in Victoria and Flatbush, and there's approximately 10,000 people in our neighborhood, all the different neighborhoods mentioned. And for the most part, they are very alarmed by this process. There's so massive a change being proposed in such a short period of time. Indeed, we have these new members here tonight. They probably, most of them, if not all of them, probably don't have an idea of what this is all about. The residents in my area are asking, Why has there not been adequate community engagement? Why was these proposals not subject to a rigorous environmental impact analysis? They want to know why this board would allow the evisceration of its power to oversee development in our community, which this...
Folks, please hold your applause.
Yeah. No applause. Save it later for my Transportation Committee report, okay? So they're wondering why the work that they did in 2009 is just being thrown out the window, that we worked for years on that, and it's like as if we didn't consider people in this neighborhood. We considered everyone in this neighborhood, and it passed. I don't recall. Glenn seems to recall one person. But when I testified for that before the city planning, I don't remember a single person there voting, speaking in opposition to that. That was the product of genuine community engagement. This is the exact opposite. You're finding out about this the last minute, and you're here and you're going, what the heck is going on? And you're asking your community board to stand behind you, to not railroad you, to knock down houses on the speculation that somehow rents are going to come down. Because there's no affordable housing in this plan. None. Zero. Nilch. I hate to sound like Donald Trump. None, you know? And none. And so it's a pure speculation and knocking down houses for that speculation. And you know what? Some of the stuff I've heard here tonight demonizes the people, hardworking people who own homes here. And that's wrong. Okay? That's wrong.
Yeah.
This should not be a
30 seconds.
A zoning proposal should not be a pitting neighbor against neighbor. And when we did in 2009, we were a community-oriented project. We didn't pit people against
15
each
seconds,
other.
Board Member Siegel.
I'm done.
Thank you.
For
Hold your applause, folks. Hold your applause. Oops. Okay. So I have Board Member Hassoun, right? And then I have Board Member Minnick. Is there anyone else after Board Member Minnick? Okay.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. So I am speaking out or encouraging board members to vote no on the motion in this case. Respectfully, I disagree with Joel. He's my transportation co-chair, so he's going to beat me up after this. But, you know, when it comes to transportation, the proposal for transit-oriented development, I think, is a very modest proposal. It would allow for modest buildings of density that are not new to our district and would build housing that's more affordable than the current housing available. So if you took a look at the housing that are sold currently and previously over the past 5 years, I was just taking a look at them yesterday. 2.5 million, 2.6 million, 3.4 million, 1.7 million, $4 million are just some of the prices of some of these houses. And I'm really happy for you all. That's great. But it makes it very difficult for people like me who've lived in the neighborhood for years and who was shopping for a place just a few years ago to be able to afford to stay in the district. If you bought a single $3 million property, converted it to a modest three-story building with 3 to 6 units, every single unit would be more affordable than the $3 million home that's currently standing there today. And that's what I think is important. While we talk about affordability, we have to think of this rezoning as one tool out of many to bring increased affordability to our neighborhood. I think that's very important. And when my family and I were looking at apartments to buy in the neighborhood, the options, even before inflation went crazy, were terrible. Like there was nothing on the market. It was extremely difficult. And a proposal like this would have added more housing to the market, at least giving us a few more options. I recommend you vote no on the motion so we can then after that potentially motion to approve it with conditions. So instead of voting yes unless, I encourage you to vote yes.
You meant no unless.
No unless. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Board Member Hassoun. And the applause. So next we have Board Member Minnick, and then I think that's it then. Okay. Someone's phone is happy.
Melissa always gets a musical accompaniment when she takes the voting.
I do what I can.
Yeah. Let's give it a second. All right, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that everyone's very enthusiastic about this. With all due respect, I would say that 2009 was a very different time. this is 2024, and our neighborhood looks very different. And I know that where I live in Flatbush, sorry, it's not Midwood, and a lot of people rent, it's a very, very different looking place than it was in 2009. It's a lot of renters, and if I wasn't here tonight, I would be at the Rent Guidelines Board meeting, because that's where a lot of my neighbors are, and a lot of people who are very, very concerned right now about what's happening with their rent and where they're going to live next year. And one of the things that I would really say, I know that for those who maybe could not be at the meeting that we had last week, as we were going through all of the pieces that we were able to actually make it through on this City of Yes for Housing Opportunity piece, is that we're not going to be able to say no to everything, because if we say no to all of the recommendations, we're not actually saying yes to any affordable housing. And that's not saying yes to anybody. That's just saying no, that we don't want anybody and any affordable housing in our neighborhoods. And so what I would say is that I would really urge people to look at the wording that's in this transit-oriented development recommendation, where it says, allow modest 3 to 5 story apartment buildings where they fit best. It doesn't mean that they're going to just be pushed in everywhere. There's nothing about housing being torn down. There's nothing that says that. Nothing. And
Folks, please, keep it down. Folks, please. Board Member Minnick is still speaking. Folks, please, respectfully.
look at all of this and actually go back and do due diligence and read the wording as it has been presented to us. Please don't make assumptions. I would say please do support this. Please do support a number of these pieces, because we do need affordable housing in our city and in our district. It's the truth in 2024.
Yeah. Thank you, Board Member Minnick, thank you. Okay, and so I don't see any more hands from board members. Oh.
And Gail.
Okay, so I have Board Member Smith and then Board Member Changajeda.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Okay. I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm just getting concerned about us and what we're hearing. It seems as if it's a divide and conquer thing. This is not a divide and conquer thing. We are a racially diverse neighborhood and community, which I think we all love. I mean, look at this table here. You know, we have Muslims, Jews, Asians, Caribbeans, blacks. Well, hey, we got it all here, and we have it all out here. So let's not divide ourselves. Let's try to find a way to make this happen. I'm not hearing that people are saying it's all or nothing. What I'm hearing is give us some more time. Let us be able to communicate with all of these different agencies so that we are on the same page and we don't start dividing each other. We've gone through so much and to go back there again. So that's what I'm here for. You know, that in unity there's strength.
Folks, please hold your applause, but thank you. Thank you, Board Member Smith. Board Member Changajeda.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say that, you know, as a diverse community, and I agree with Gail and a little bit disagree with Melissa in terms of not tearing down homes to build these buildings, because we've seen this. We've seen this on New York Avenue, on the corner of Caton. You drive through Brooklyn, wherever they are, and the houses that were there are no longer there. We are a city of neighborhoods, and we have some unique neighborhoods, and we're losing that. My daughter, as a photographer, you know, she studied at Pratt. She went around and took pictures, and and for someone who's lived here I migrated and started living here some 30-odd years, it has changed drastically. And so if we can preserve the neighborhoods that we have, then we should. It doesn't mean that we can't have housing. And what is affordable housing? And who is it affordable for? Because there are buildings with apartments that are uninhabited. So, I just wanted to say that we just need to consider everyone in the whole, in the city of yes. I think it should be the neighborhoods of yes in terms of what's more conducive or what's more beneficial for the various neighborhoods. And we all can coexist together. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Chang and Jada. So I don't see any more hands from board members. And so with that being said, I'm going to read out the recommendation that came from the public hearing that we had on the 11th. And then based on the, conversations that we heard, it will then be, is it that recommendation as is or something else? Okay, and so verbatim, the recommendation that came forth from the June 11th public hearing was, do not approve transit-oriented development unless the following conditions are met. Unless the Victorian Flatbush neighborhoods involved in the 2009 rezoning, including West Midwood Neighborhood Association, Ditmas Park West Neighborhood Association, Beverly Square West Association, the Caton Park Association, South Midwood Residential Association, are carved out for a time sufficient to engage in a meaningful public process where they can come to a decision that makes sense for their communities. So that was the recommendation that came out of the public hearing in June 11th. And board members, we heard comments from our board members regarding their input in this conversation.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is this the,
Yes, board member Jada, what's your question?
can we summarize the motion then?
So do you think so am I hearing you think the motion may be too wordy?
It is.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So then,
And I have the language so we can get that into the record on your sheet.
Okay, thank you.
I see a question from board member Dweck.
I'm confused about the wording of what exactly we're voting for, against, and what a yes or no vote means in this context. If you could kindly clarify that.
Sure.
It's a recommendation to not.
Sure. Exactly, yes. So basically, board member Dweck, what this recommendation states is that for the transit-oriented development, low density, which is asking to allow 3 to 5 story apartment buildings on large lots that are wide streets, 75 feet, or corners and within half a mile of subway or rail stations, this recommendation is saying that this recommendation is that CB14 would be voting to not approve this unless the Victorian Flatbush neighborhoods that were involved in the 2009 rezoning had a process that was carved out for them to discuss with the relevant entities what the impact could be of building in their neighborhoods. That's a very high level summary, but basically that's the motion. If someone voted in favor of this, they would be saying, I don't want transit oriented development unless this carve out happens for Victorian Flatbush. If someone voted no, then they would be saying that they do want the transit oriented development. Okay. And then yes,
Just in case this is not clear, this is a zoning text amendment with 15 sort of subtext to it, 15 different proposals within an overarching proposal. So what the board is doing now is we heard 5 of the 15 proposals at a public hearing last week. So this is proposal by proposal recommendations. It's not overarching. It's not the full kit and caboodle. So this is just proposal 1 of 15.
What they're proposing is as of
Which means that the developer can just do what this says it's allowing for them to do without any consideration or consultation with anybody in the community board or the neighborhood. And what we're proposing is that we're saying no to that unless you build in a process to allow us some say. That's what we're saying. And why we're saying.
We've already discussed this.
So
The plan's already provided that.
Yes. That's true. That's fair. And so given that clarity, okay, so let me read this, right? So let me reread the recommendation, right? Actually, no, I don't think I have to. Sorry about that. So let me get this right. Give me a second, folks. Okay, all right, I got it. So the question I'm putting before the board is, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation from the public hearing with regards to the City of Yes housing opportunity, transit-oriented development, to disapprove this item unless the following condition is met? The Victorian Flatbush neighborhoods involved in the 2009 rezoning, including West Midwood Neighborhood Association, Ditmas Park West Neighborhood Association, Beverly Square West Association, the Caton Park Association, South Midwood Resident Association, are carved out for a time sufficient to engage in meaningful public process where they can come to a decision that makes sense for their communities.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Board Member Ajita?
So will we be to approve? Okay.
So for this motion, if you vote yes, then what you were saying is you, as a board member, agree with the recommendation that came out of the public hearing, which is to say no to the transit-oriented development unless it includes that carve-out for the Victorian Flatbush neighborhoods involved in the 2009 rezoning. Okay, so that's what that means. Okay, did I answer your question, Board Member Jada?
This is always tricky.
Okay, and then Board Member
Yes to no.
Smith, I thought you had a question too.
What I think is confusing, and that may be confusing to us, is the listing out of the individual Victorian homes, and neighborhoods. I think when Glenn was speaking, he was talking about the as of right, the consultation, the involvement, not just you got to do this because they are Victorian homes. I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing that as of right, we want more discussion. So that's where
Yeah. So then, thank you for that, Board Member Smith. The way I'm interpreting that, it sounds like you may be proposing an amendment to the motion. All I want to say is I think there's already a motion that's currently on the floor. Board Member Brown.
So we have the responsibility to vote on as it was recommended from the public hearing. And part of that recommendation was to describe the neighborhoods that we were, not all in totality, because there was still some question about Midwood neighborhoods that had to be addressed. So if there are folks in the room who do not feel like they want to vote on specific neighborhoods, then you would vote this down. But we have a responsibility to vote on the recommendation that came from the public hearing, and if it doesn't carry, then we move to the next motion, which would come from the floor or the chair.
Board Member Smith.
the part that then maybe, since this is written here, is the Caton Park section, blah, 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 are carved out of time sufficient to engage in meaningful public process where they can come to a decision that makes sense for their communities. I think that piece needs to be added here. So that's part of the motion. As it's written as part of the motion. But whenever you were speaking about it, and I didn't hear you reiterate
Okay.
It was just a part using.
Understood. So then I will make sure that I speak more clearly. So thank you for calling that out. I appreciate that. I see board member, my friend. Yes, Tom. Sorry about that. Mm-hmm.
Yes, actually what I'm guessing that the main thing is confusion, that there was a lot of members were not on the public hearing, so they don't know what happened. But today there is a lot of new faces or newcomers who wants to know about last hearing. So that was the interpretation. So if we able to do with full detail, then we need one more hearing, so which is not possible as per spoke by our previous president. So that is the basic confusion, is the previous hearing and this meeting. So people don't know what happened 2 weeks ago. So this is the confusion. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Board Member Khan. So yes, so then what this means is what I will do, yes, so we have 4 more items after this, so I will do a better job of recapping what was discussed at the June 11th public hearing to make it clear for folks who were not present what we discussed. So thank you very much for sharing that. And so just to recap for folks, and I thank you for your patience, right? I'm going to say, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation from the public hearing with regards to the city of Yes House? What? Yeah. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation? Okay. So then, all those in favor? We're going to need, hold the hands up. We need to count this. Only board members. Yes, only board members.
Carl, do you want to do a voice vote?
Yeah, we'll have to do a voice vote. Yes, definitely. We'll have to do a voice vote. Yes, we will. Yes.
Wahil Hamed. Carissa Alfonso.
Yes.
Gregory Alvarez.
Yes.
Hindi Bendel.
Yes.
Benjamin Bendet. Davina Bolanot.
Yes.
Christopher Bromson.
Yes.
Joanne Brown.
Yes.
Edward Sen.
No.
Carl Henry Cesar.
Yes.
Florencia Changajita, yes. Yvette Clerjean.
No.
Stephen Cohen.
Yes.
Elizabeth Dennis.
No.
Derek Donald. Sabina Dorville. Joseph Dweck.
Yes.
Hatem El Gamasi.
Yes.
Gerald Gray. Suzanne Argett.
Yes.
Lee Harmon.
Not here.
Musa Hassoun.
No.
William Attar.
Yes.
Nautica Johnson.
Yes.
Erica Phillip Jones. Shahid Khan.
Yes.
William Lesman. Alex Lesman.
No.
Naomi Lipnick. Donald Loggins. Sasha Maluski. Melissa Menink. Ephraim Nierenberg.
Yes.
Eric Ost.
Yes.
Ornella Parker.
Yes.
Nora Pena. Suzanne Phillip. Zvi Plotzker. Barton Prasant. Bazaruhi. Nina Sabir. Joel Siegel. Gail L. Smith.
Yes.
Tova Zenberg.
Yes.
Abraham Treff.
Yes.
Deborah Valentin. Dawn Marie Walker. Yes. Kendall Washington. Yes. Glenn Wallen.
Yes.
Anyone that's abstaining?
I think you got through the whole list.
Okay.
I think you got everybody.
It passes.
Okay. So folks, thank you very much for your patience with that one. So next up, we are going to item. Oh.
You should just say the motion carries for the record.
Okay, so just for the record, the motion carries. So now we are going to the second item, which is accessory dwelling units. And so this is to permit as of right accessory dwelling units such as detached backyard residential units, garage conversions, and basement apartments, all up to 800 square feet. The recommendation from board members present at the hearing is as follows. Approve with the following conditions. Require substantiation that the basement had not flooded in the past 4 years. Require a public process for converting or building ADUs rather than allowing as-of-right development. And some of the other things that were discussed during this conversation of this item, basement dwellings would still have to be legalized at the New York State level. The difference between a basement and a cellar was not answered by Department of City Planning reps who were present. In addition, there was no local environmental impact study consideration on local flooding and permeable surface, and also requiring some level of affordability. And so, are there any questions from board members here tonight on this item? I see board member Dweck.
Thank you, Chair. Was there discussion about it would legalize current?
We're going to need you to use the mic for the
Sorry.
live stream purposes.
I'll be right there.
Thanks for making the trash.
Was there discussion, Mr. Chair, that if this is allowed to legalize living space in garage, that would legalize current illegal activity that has been done before, has been now made? That's what would happen. We have a great many. Let me explain. On current zoning, garages were previously barns, and they were put at the on the property line, right next to your neighbors. That was not allowed to be living space. Now it's going to be living space. Over the last 20, 30 years, people did in fact make their garages living space illegally. Now I'm asking if there was discussion during this proposal that would in fact make legal all of these illegal things.
Off the top of my head, I can't recall.
I think it was raised as a point.
It was raised as a point, but I can't recall if that question was answered. I apologize.
Okay, we have a problem.
Greg might know.
So, I see board member Alvarez. Yeah. And then I believe I saw another board member who had their hand up as well. I forget.
Sure, I'll just say a little bit about that. So there was some discussion about it sort of peripherally in the context of the public process that was considered as to how to review these types of units moving forward. So that covered both new units and existing units, so that was the intent, I think, of that condition. So that was the discussion. That's it.
Okay, thank you, board member Alvarez. Did I see a hand up from other board members? You have your hand up? Okay, so then, given that, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation from the public hearing?
What is the motion?
Okay, let me read the motion again, sure. So the motion is for accessory dwelling units, which means to permit as-of-right accessory dwelling units, such as detached backyard residential units, garage conversions, and basement apartments, all up to 800 square feet. The recommendation from the board members present at the hearing was to approve that item with the following conditions. Number one, require substantiation that the basement had not flooded in the past 4 years. And number two, require a public process for converting or building accessory dwelling units rather than allowing as-of-right development. So that was the motion.
So, just
Can you have the microphone?
when I bought my house,
Can you have the microphone?
when I bought my house, it apparently had an illegal porch. We had to break down the porch, get a permit, and then rebuild it. So I'm wondering if we could put somewhere into the clause that if something's already built and it's up to standards, it could be approved backwardly.
I don't know if the item you're talking about may be relevant for the accessory dwelling unit piece. So
It's not pertinent to the zoning text amendment. It could be pursued legislatively.
okay. Thank you very much, Board Member Bendel. Any other questions from board members regarding this item? Okay, so then do I have a motion to approve this recommendation from the public hearing? Okay. Okay, so then we'll do a roll call vote again. So then all those in favor, please raise your hand and keep it up. Oh, no, we'll do the roll call. We're doing a voice call. I'm getting my screws mixed up.
We're going to do a voice call with
We're not going to do two
hands up.
votes. We're going to do the one, we'll get it right. We'll get it right. So we'll do a roll call vote. So, okay.
Sorry. So
That's right.
we're approving the,
Yes, this is a motion. Yes, the motion has been, seconded to approve the recommendation. And so this is with conditions. And so this is the roll call vote, Secretary.
Wahil Ahmed. Carissa Alfonso. Gregory Alvarez. Hindi Bendel. Benjamin Bendet. Davina Bolanot. Christopher Bromson. Joanne Brown. Edward Sen. Carl Henry Cesar.
Yes.
Florencia Changajita, yes. Yvette Clerjean. Stephen D. Cohen. Elizabeth Dennis. Derek Donald. Sabina Dorville. Joseph Dweck. Hatem El Gamasi. Gerald Gray. Suzanne Argett. Lee Harmon. Oh, sorry. Musa Asun. William Hattar. Nautica Johnson. Erica Phillips Jones. Shahid Khan. William Alex Lesman. Naomi Lipnick. Donald Loggins. Sasha Maluski. Melissa Minnick. Ephraim Nierenberg. Eric Ost. Ornella Parker. Nora Pena. Suzanne Phillip. Zvi Plotzker. Barton Persant. Bazaruhi. Nina Sibgir. Yes. Thank you. Joel Siegel. Gail Hell Smith. Tova Svenberg. Abraham Treff. Deborah Valentin. Dawn Marie Walker. Kendall Washington. Glenn Wallen. It has passed.
The motion carries.
Wait.
Thank you very much for that, Secretary. Okay, so now we are on to item 3, folks. So item 3 is district fixes low density. So this is adjust requirements to allow a 0.1 to a 0.25 additional floor area ratio, decrease minimum lot sizes, reduce rear yard requirements from 30 to 20 feet, reduce side yard requirements to 5 feet, increase heights from 21 to 25 feet, and 25 to 35 feet. So the recommendation from board members present at the hearing, it was to approve this item with the following conditions: follow up with other city agencies, requiring permeable pavement around the lot to replace the 10 feet by X feet of rear yard and its contribution to capture stormwater and runoff, and also require a public review for applications to combine adjacent lots. And one of the many items that came up as part of the conversation as well was requesting a district level environmental impact study, because one of the questions that came up was, based on that information, would it be possible to determine if there's a limit to how many lots can be combined, depending on what DCP came back with for their answer. And so, do I have any questions from board members here tonight on this item? I see Board Member Bendet, and then I'll do Board Member Wolin. And come up for that.
Hey everyone, welcome new members. Just had a quick question regarding certain conditions in this recommendation. Some of them don't appear to be connected. For example, stormwater runoff. Do they have to be connected, or what is the level of connection to a recommendation that you need in order to make a side piece added to a recommendation?
Got you. Thank you for that. And so thank you for that question. I'm looking to my housing land use co-chairs. Either one of you have the answer to that question, or? Okay.
Hello again, Greg Alvarez. So just in answer to your question, the intent there was some discussion about certain issues within the district in terms of flood-prone areas. And so the intent was, well, if we're adding impervious surfaces by these expansions, that there should at least be some consideration as to the loss of those permeable areas that could capture stormwater. So just to sort of as an off, like an offset in connection with those types of expansions. So that was the intent there, and that was the connection that was drawn.
Thank you very much, Board Member Alvarez. So I saw Board Member Woolen, and then I thought I saw another hand up. Did I see? Okay, got you. Thank you very much, Board Member Denise. Okay, got it. So Board Member Woolen.
Just a point of clarification. Most Victorian Flatbush is an R3X, and I asked specifically how much would they be increasing the FAR, floor area ratio, which is currently at 0.6. For those of you who aren't familiar, if you're on a 50 by 100 plot, that's 5,000 square feet. You apply the 0.6, allows for 3,000 square feet of interior living space. They said that in a 3X, it would be a 0.15, which means that it would go from 0.6 to 0.75, allowing for slightly larger dwellings, and that's what's being considered here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Board Member Woolen. And so do I have any other questions from board members on this item? Okay, so seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation from the public hearing? Okay, so we're going to do a roll call vote again. So Secretary, when you are ready, this is for item number 3.
Wait, will you read it one more time in terms of what the conditions are?
Sure, let me do that again. No problem, folks. So just to repeat the recommendation that came from the board, it is to approve district fixes. And just to recap, district fixes says adjust requirements to allow an additional floor area ratio of 0.1 to 0.25, decrease minimum lot sizes, reduce rear yard requirements from 30 to 20 feet, reduce side yard requirements to 5 feet, increase heights from current 21 to 25 feet, and current 25 to 35 feet. And the motion that we're going to be voting on is to approve the district fixes with the following conditions. Follow up with other city agencies requiring permeable pavement around the lot to replace the 10 feet by X feet of rear yard and its contribution to capture stormwater and runoff, and also require a public review for applications to combine adjacent lots. So that's what we're voting on.
So there's no, I just want to be clear in my own mind. I wrote this and I should know this note, but the requirement for the EIS is not part of the recommendation.
No, this was a note that, this was a concern that came up during it, but the district level EIS is not a part of the condition.
I'm sorry, I misheard you. You said it right, I heard it wrong.
Gotcha. Okay, got it. So can you do the roll call vote, please, Secretary?
Sure. Wahil Ahmed. Yes. Carissa Alfonso. Gregory Alvarez. Yes. Hindi Bendel. Yes. Benjamin Bendet. Yes. Davina Bolanot. Christopher Bromson. Yes. Joanne Brown. No. Edward Sen.
Yes.
Carl Henry Cesar.
Yes.
Florencia Changajita. Yes. Yvette Claire Jean. Yes. Stephen D. Cohen.
Yes.
Elizabeth Denny's. Yes. Derek Donald. Yes. Sabina Deauville. Okay. Joseph Dweck. Yes. Atem El Gamasi. Yes. Gerald Gray. Yes. Susan Argett. Yes. Lee Harmon. Musa Asun. Yes. William Attar. Yes. Nautica Johnson. Erica Phillips Jones. Erica? Yes. Shahid Khan. Yes. Alex Lesman. Yes. Naomi Lipnick. Donald Loggins. Sasha Maluski. Melissa Minnick. Yes. Ephraim Nierenberg. Yes. Eric Ost. Ornella Parker. Yes. Nora Pena. Susan Phillip. Zvi Plotzker. Zvi? Yeah? Zvi?
He stepped out of the room.
Oh, he stepped out. Okay. Barden, Persons, Bazaruhi. Nina Sabger. Yes. Joel Siegel. Yes. Gail L. Smith. Yes. Tova Svenberg. Yes. Abraham Treff. Yes. Deborah Valentin. Dawn Marie Walker. Yes. Kendall Washington. No. Glenn Wallen. Yes. The motion carries.
Thank you, Secretary. So the motion carries. So the next item is town center zoning low density. And so the definition is to allow mixed-use buildings on commercial streets and low-density areas such that 2 4 stories of residential units could be added to commercial ground floor buildings. So the recommendation from board members present at that hearing, it was to approve with the following condition. Ensure that the fresh zoning text amendment of 2019 be preserved. And some notes of some additional things that were discussed within that conversation, but are not part of the recommendation were, again, concern about no local environmental impact study, considering local flooding, permeable surfaces, and also another ask about requiring some level of affordability. And so do I have any questions for board members here tonight on this item? I see first Board Member Brown.
Hi, just a point of clarification. The fresh incentive that I was referring to was 2021, not 2019.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It could have been a typo. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarity.
My bad.
That's fine. Thank you very much for that correction, Board Member Brown. And so are there any additional questions from board members on this item? Okay, so let me reread the recommendation and then I'll put the motion forward. And so, again, the definition of town center zoning, excuse me, it's to allow mixed-use buildings on commercial streets and low-density areas such that 2 4-stories of residential units could be added to commercial ground floor buildings. And the recommendation from board members present at the hearing was to approve with the following conditions: ensure that the fresh zoning text amendment of 2021 be preserved. So, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation from the public hearing? Thank you, folks. And so, let's do a roll call vote. And so, Secretary, when you're ready.
One second. Wahil Ahmed? Yes. Carissa Alfonso? No. Gregory Alvarez? Yes. Hindi Bendel? Benjamin Bendet? No. Davina Bolanot? Christopher Bromson? Joanne Brown? Yes. Edward Sen?
Yes.
Carl Henry Cesar?
Yes.
Florencia Changajita abstain. Yvette Claire Jean? Yes. Stephen D. Cohen?
Yes.
Elizabeth Denny's?
Yes.
Derek Donald? Yes. Sabina Dorville? Joseph Dweck? Hatem El Gamasi? Gerald Gray? Suzanne Argett? Lee Harmon? Musa Hassoun? William Attar? Nautica Johnson? Erica Phillips Jones? Shahid Khan? William Alex Lesman? Naomi Lipnick? Donald Loggins? Sasha Maslewski? Melissa Minnick? Ephraim Nierenberg? Eric Ost? Ornella Parker? Nora Pena? Susan Phillip? Zvi Plusker? Barton Prasant? Bazaruhi? Nina Sabgir? Joel Siegel? Gail L. Smith? Tova Svenberg? Abraham Treff? Deborah Valentin? Dawn Marie Walker? Kendall Washington? Glenn Wallen? Motion carries.
Thank you very much for that, Secretary. So the motion carries. Question from Board Member Hassoun?
Is that a point of order or procedure? I'm not sure. Practically speaking, do abstains count towards the no column or the yes, or how does that all work? Is it officially a no? Okay, thank you.
A motion has to carry with majority approval, so abstentions don't count toward. It's equivalent. It works as a no vote.
Yep. You're welcome. And so the next item we have is
Some more nuanced answer.
the next item we have is lift parking mandates. And so the definition of this is eliminate mandatory parking requirements for new buildings, parking allowed but not required. Recommendation from the board members present at the hearing was to approve. Some of the notes that came out of that conversation and contribution to that were ensure that DCP will work with New York State and the New York City Department of Finance to adjust tax classes to support the added unit benefit of removing parking requirements. so that this is done to increase housing and not simply and solely to decrease cars. Eliminate the floor area ratio exclusion for parking except for 1 to 2 single-family homes, and then require affordability. So again, these are just notes that were part of the conversation. The recommendation was just to approve, period. Okay, and so do I have any questions from board members here tonight on this specific item? What's your question, Board Member Alfonso? Sure, no problem. So I have a question from Board Member Alfonso to just repeat the recommendation. So I got you. So just to recap, we're discussing lifting parking mandates citywide. The description is to eliminate mandatory parking requirements for new buildings. So parking is allowed but not required. And the recommendation from board members present at the hearing was just to approve it, period. No conditions, just to approve. That's the recommendation. And so do I have any questions from board members tonight on this item? Okay, so seeing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation? Okay, okay, thank you. So Secretary, your favorite words, roll call vote. This is for the parking, lifting the parking mandate, yes. Yes, I can, sure. So the motion is to approve eliminating mandatory parking requirements for new buildings. So that is the motion, just to approve that.
Wahil Ahmed? Carissa Alfonso? Gregory Alvarez? Hindi Bendel? Benjamin Bendet? Davina Bolanot? Christopher Bromson? Joanne Brown? Edward Sen?
Yes.
Carl Henry Cesar?
No.
Florencia Changajita, no. Yvette Claire Jean? Stephen D. Cohen? Elizabeth Dennis? Derek Donald? Sabina Dorville? Joseph Dweck? Hatem El Gamasi? Gerald Gray? Susan Argett? Lee Harmon? Musa Hassoun? William Hattar? Nordica Johnson? Erica Phillips Jones? Shahid Khan? Alex Lesman? Naomi Lipnick? Donald Loggins? Sasha Maslewski? Sasha? No? Okay.
She's not in the room.
Melissa Minnick? Ephraim Nirenberg? Eric Ost? Ornella Parker? Nora Pena? Susan Phillip? Zvi Plotzker? Barton Persant? Baza Ruhi? Nina Sapger? Joel Siegel? Gail L. Smith? Tova Svenberg? Abraham Treff? Deborah Valentin? Dawn Marie Walker? Kendall Washington? Glenn Wallen?
I didn't get four of those votes.
Okay.
The motion carries, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Secretary. So the motion carries. And so the next item that we have is after we had looked at those recommendations for those 5 items, there were 2 recommendations that came out regarding general language that could be submitted when we submit the whole application. So what I'm going to do is read out the language and follow the same process as before. So the first one, this is general language that came out of that public hearing. So it says, the Department of City Planning has once again held back details of a proposal and certified at a time that coincides with New York City Charter, directed summer recess for volunteer community boards. The opportunity for local public input becomes abbreviated and rushed. We object to the timing and the time limits of the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity zoning text amendment. And so, do I have any questions for board members here tonight on this item? I see Board Member Denise. Yes?
I just wanted to note that these comments are due by July 8th, and our recess tends to be in July and August, so it's really only an 8-day overlap from their the process that they're following for this, which mirrors the ULURP process. So I think that it's a little odd for us to say that this overlaps too significantly with our recess when it's just 8 days, and we have had this hearing, and we could have potentially have chosen to hold our hearings in a different way to have different input, or to have gotten through all of these recommendations instead of just the 5 on top of the hour of testimony. I just note this because I do agree that this has been a problem in the past, but with us actually talking about it at a normal board meeting instead of having to defer the entire thing to a committee of the whole like we had to do with carbon neutrality, it's different, and that's why I will personally be voting no to this motion. Just wanted to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Board Member Denise. And so do I have any other, questions or contribute? So I see Board Member Cohen. Okay, no problem, sure. And so this statement says, the Department of City Planning has once again held back details of a proposal and certified at a time that coincides with New York City Charter, directed summer recess for volunteer community boards. The opportunity for local public input becomes abbreviated and rushed. We object to the timing and the time limits of the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity zoning text amendment. So that's the language. Okay, and so do I have any questions from board members on the specific item? Okay, so then let me get this right. And so do I have a motion to approve the stated language that would be submitted when Community Board 14 submits its recommendations for all 15 items for the City of Yes housing opportunity? So just to be clear, this is not like we're not just saying up or down. There's 15 items. We'll be submitting that, and this is language to include in that submission. So this is the motion that I'm asking. Okay, so.
I'm sorry. What are we voting on now?
Sure, no problems. That's okay. That's okay, Secretary. Sure, no problem. And so basically, before I read the language, so Secretary, in the public hearing, after the 5 items that we had reviewed, there was language that came out that basically shares concerns and or objections with how the process has been in terms of the City of Yes housing opportunity engaging with the community in terms of getting feedback and giving ample time for feedback. So this language that I'm going to repeat, this is specific language, and the vote that I am asking people to vote on is whether or not they are okay with this language being included with CB14 submitting its recommendations for all of the 15 items to the Department of City Planning.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
no problem. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. No
We
problem.
have a question from Tova Zenberg.
I have, yes, Board Member Zenberg. Yep.
So we're submitting our suggestions, but we're saying that we didn't feel that there was ample time, even though we are submitting whatever we voted for. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, and could you also just, I apologize, like just repeat on the mic for the stream?
Can I can do that for you if you prefer to knock it up. The question is, are we still submitting comments while we're also saying we didn't have enough time? And the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Thank you for recognizing that. And so do I have any other questions from from board members on this item? Okay, and so Secretary, could you please do the roll call? Roll call vote, excuse me, yeah.
Oh, what time is it? Okay. Wahil Ahmed? Carissa Alfonso? Gregory Alvarez? Hinda Bendel? Benjamin Bendet? Davina Bolanot? Christopher Bromson? Joanne Brown? Edward Sen? Carl Henry Cesar?
Yes.
Florencia Changajita, yes. Yvette Claire Jean? Stephen D. Cohen? No. Elizabeth Dennis? No. Derek Donald? Yes. Sabina Dorville? Joseph Dweck? Yes. Hatem El Ghamisi? Yes. Gerald Gray? Yes. Susan Hargett? Yes. Lee Harmon? Musa Asun? No. William Hattar? No. Nautica Johnson? Yes. Erica Phillips-Jones? Yes. Shahid Khan? Yes. Alex Lesman? Naomi Lipnick? Donna Loggins? Sasha Maslewski? Yes. Melissa Minnick? Yes. Ephraim Nierenberg? Yes. Eric Ost? Yes. Ornella Parker? Yes. Nora Pena? Susan Phillip? Zvi Plotsker? Barton Prasant? Baza Ruhi? Yes. Nina Sabgir? Yes. Joel Siegel? Yes. Gail L. Smith? Yes. Tova Svenberg? Yes. Abraham Treff? Deborah Valentin, Dawn Marie Walker, yes. Kendall Washington, yes. Glenn Wallen. Yes. The motion carries.
Thank you very much, Secretary. And so we are on to the second language piece that came out of the public hearing. And so I'm going to read this language, and then I'll follow the process before asking if board members have any questions for this item. So the language states, within DCP's own language is an admission that a city level of analysis for an environmental impact statement leaves impacts at the local level unknowable. We believe that potential impacts could exacerbate several chronic flooding conditions. We oppose the plan until district level data are gathered, shared, and considered. And so do I have any questions from board members regarding this specific language? So I see I have board member Hassoun.
I just want to make sure I understood the language. Is the note that we would be opposed to all of them until there's a district level environmental assessment? Am I misunderstanding the context in which that note's being applied? Because isn't this just a note that's being attached to everything?
It would be part of the overall comments. It doesn't necessarily reflect an overall recommendation. It will be in the language that's submitted to Department of City Planning. So it's just being adopted as language. It's not being. There's no motion for a recommendation other than the adoption of the language.
Okay. So if we voted to approve a particular proposal here, then this note would not counter that. It's just a note about wanting an environmental assessment on the super local level, Maybe I just need to hear the language again one more time, and I'll get my.
Yeah,
clarity.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So I can repeat the language, and also too, yes. So this is about adopting the language. This is not about this language, if it's adopted, overriding whatever decisions have yet to be made regarding, the remaining 10 items as well too, and the decisions that have been made today. Exactly. So. And so let me read the language, and then Board Member Denise, I'll get to you. Okay? And so the language is, within DCP's own language, is an admission that a city level of analysis for an environmental impact statement leaves impacts at the local level unknowable. We believe that potential impacts could exacerbate several chronic flooding conditions. We oppose the plan until district level data are gathered, shared, and considered. Okay? So Board Member Denise, you're up.
Hi, I think many of you know that I am no stranger to flooding and the flooding problems in our district. I would just note that my understanding is that when new buildings are added or redeveloped, they go through a process, particularly large buildings with DEP as well as DOB, whether or not things are as of right or not, to consider how the changes to these buildings could impact flooding harder. So in my view, not to discount the concern of flooding, but asking for an additional environmental impact statement is not as specific or as, it is not as specific as that work, and also could potentially delay, the little more housing, as people often put it in this plan, potentially indefinitely, even if, I just don't know how this environmental statement would be done, and we already kind of have a process for that I believe is good in conjunction with trying to work with our agencies as a community board to relieve current flooding and fix things. So I just wanted to explain that, because I didn't know about that process until I'd asked about it, and just thought that would be useful knowledge when we're voting on this. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Board Member Denise. And so I see Board Member Brown. Do I see any other hands? Okay, got you. Board Member Brown, you're up.
Wasn't the crux of this a comment on DCP's environmental study and not, it was the fact that it was a citywide study and did not look at any particular neighborhood individually. So that's what we're really talking about. We're not talking about individual buildings. We're just talking about, in a narrative, that it was, again, a citywide environmental report and didn't really take into account the nuances of each different neighborhood, and we're calling out the fact that we have areas that are severely prone to flooding. So.
Okay. Thank you, Board Member Brown. Do I have any other questions from board members on this item? Okay, so seeing none, Secretary, what I will do is I will reread the language, and then I will state the motion, okay? And so the language, again, it is within DCP's own language is an admission that a city level of analysis for an environmental impact statement leaves impacts at the local level unknowable. We believe that potential impacts could exacerbate several chronic flooding conditions. We oppose the plan until district level data are gathered, shared, and considered. And so do I have a motion to approve this language so that it is adopted and provided with all of the other recommendations that CB14 will provide for City of Yes housing opportunity? Okay, thank you. So,
Can you just repeat it one more time?
yes, I got you.
I have the language. I have the language for the paperwork.
So then, okay.
Unless you needed it for the vote.
What are we approving?
Sure. And so the motion is, so what people are voting on, right, when you call the roll call, is going to be, do people approve the language that I just repeated being adopted, so that when CB14 submits all of the recommendations for the City of Yes housing opportunity, this language is also included in the general comments area. So that's what we're voting on for the roll call vote.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Secretary. And thank you very much,
And thank you.
Board Member Mendel.
Okay, Wahil Ahmed? Yes. Carissa Alfonso? Yes. Gregory Alvarez? Hinda Bendel? Yes. Benjamin Bendet? Yes. Davina Bolanot? Yes. Christopher Bromson. Joanne Brown. Edward Sen. Carl Henry Cesar.
Yes.
Florencia Changajita, yes. Yvette Claire Jean. Stephen D. Cohen. Elizabeth Denny's. Derek Donald. Sabina Dorville. Joseph Dweck. Hatem El Gamasi. Jarrell Gray. Susan Argett. Lee Harmon. Musa Asun. William Hattar. Nordica Johnson. Erica Phillips Jones. Shahid Khan. Alex Lesman. Naomi Lipnick. Donald Loggins. Sasha Maslewski. Melissa Minnick. Ephraim Nierenberg. Eric Ost. Ornella Parker. Nora Pena. Susan Phillip. Svi Plotzker. Barden Prasant. Baza Ruhi. Nina Sebger. Joel Siegel. Gail L. Smith. Tova Zvenberg. Abraham Treff. Deborah Valentin. Dawn Marie Walker. Kendall Washington. Oh, sorry. Glenn Wallen. Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Secretary. So that concludes the City of Yes Housing Opportunity portion of the Chair's report. So there's still more to go. So I'm gonna channel Sonic the Hedgehog and go through this thing. So here we go. In another universe, Joe. In another universe. So I'm going to give you some highlights. Office of Cannabis Management. So the office received 2 Office of Cannabis Management applications. We were unable to schedule public hearings for them because we'd already scheduled our June calendar. And so the locations are 2119 Nostrand Avenue and 2223 Church Avenue. So I'm letting you guys know that this will be handled administratively. So basically, because we weren't able to have a public hearing, there will be no recommendation, but there will be letters sent, and the district manager will note issues with the 2119 Nostrand location, specifically that an unpermitted cannabis shop has operated at this location, and the landlord filed eviction proceedings against a tenant on the basis of those sales. So in the past, the board has denied applications on this basis. As for the 2223 Church Avenue location, that is a CUARD application. And so the district manager does note that in the past, Community Board 14 did ask OCM to consider outpatient treatment centers as sensitive locations, and that's a concern because there are 2 within the proximity of the proposed 2223 Church Avenue location. And so there is no board action that needs to be stated. This is just for letting the board know that we received these applications, and this is the action that we're taking in terms of sending these letters. So the next item up where I will require a board motion is regards to Department of Transportation open dining. And so the board did receive our first application for the Department of Transportation's open dining program. The applicant is the Costello Plan at 1213 Cortellia Road. So the plan is for 3 two-seater tables along the building line. Since we did not have an opportunity to hold a public hearing on this application within the 30-day window, there are 2 options for the board to consider. Option 1 is that the district manager can enter a denial of the application, which would then require Department of Transportation to schedule a hearing, at which point committee members could weigh in. No idea what the timeline is for Department of Transportation if we go that route. The second option for board members is Community Board 14 could take no action, and after the expiration of 30 days, the application would automatically move forward as approved. It's important to note that the district manager has checked with the Cortellia Road Merchants Association, who are supportive of the application, and they have also checked with the 70th Police Precinct, which has reported no issues regarding this establishment. And so given those two options, I'm open to hear which preference board members are leaning towards for an motion accordingly. I see Board Member Cohen, then Board Member Denise. Yep.
Thanks. I feel like that location has had that limited outdoor dining for as long as I can, probably since they opened, which was probably sometime around 2012, if I'm remembering correctly. And if they haven't had any problems, then I don't see why we should, create problems now. So I think, given the two options you laid out, taking no action would seem to be the most sensible one. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much for that. I see Board Member Denise. And then do I see any other board members? Okay. And then Board Member Brown.
I was just going to agree with Steve and also note that I'm really glad that we could reach out to some of the community partners, including the Cortelyou Merchants Association and the precinct, and understand their views on it. So thank you so much to the board office for getting that information.
Awesome. Thank you. So we have Board Member Brown next.
No, the side is as of right because it's within their property line. It is in front of the building on the sidewalk, but against the building line. So it's kind of flush with the adjoining restaurant. It wouldn't be. I would try to do this without prejudice, but you'll see where I'm leaning. It wouldn't even be walkable sidewalk space anyway because you just boom, smack into the wall. So yeah, it's not obstructing the walkway in any way. Yeah.
No problems. Any other questions from board members? Okay, so then given what I heard from the board members, do I have a motion to pursue option 2 with regards to the Costello Plans Department of Transportation open dining program application? Okay. Okay, great. So, I'm going to spare the secretary here. So, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Ineligible? Okay, so the motion carries.
Motion carries. There's one no vote. Sasha.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then thank you folks for that. So the next thing is just a plug, a very important plug. So on May 30th, the Transition Committee met at the Community Board 14 District Office. So co-chairs Joanne Brown and Ornella Parker shared their findings, and a robust conversation took place. The Transition Committee was tasked with 2 things. Number 1, providing the current state of board membership given term limits, and number 2, providing a means for institutional knowledge transfer to occur on various topics between veteran and non-veteran board members. So this meeting will take... Oh, man. Did I steal your thunder? I'm looking at the agenda. I see there's an ad hoc committee. Did I steal your thunder? Okay. I apologize for stealing. I'm going to stop right here. I stole 30% of your thunder. I'll leave you 70%. All right. Well, you guys are special. All right, cool. So I'll stop. I won't steal their thunder. You'll hear more in the ad hoc committee stuff. Okay, cool. So then the next thing is on June 6th, Sarah Sklar, one of our wonderful people in the back, and we attended a community partner conversation at the Flatbush Avenue branch of the Brooklyn Public Library. And so the point of that is that Brooklyn Public Library is rolling out a new pilot program to help constituents with technology issues and building their digital literacy and meeting them in the community. So the program is called Neighborhood Tech Help. So the purpose of this meeting was for Brooklyn Public Library to give us a high-level summary of the history behind the program. And then the attendees who were present, we discussed at a high level who was the intended audience, communication opportunities and challenges, what's the scope, what's the scale, and potential locations and more. And so at the outcome of that meeting was Brooklyn Public Library and the consulting company they're working with, they were going to take that feedback and then incorporate it. And so we look forward to hearing more from Brooklyn Public Library on this pilot and, the work that they're doing to incorporate the findings from that conversation and other ones as well. So, and then the other thing too, there was a new board member orientation from 6:15 to 7. So shout out to the new board members for coming. Thank you very much. We gave you a lot of material to read. There's no test. There's no pop quiz. You don't got to read it by tonight. There's a lot to chew on, but thank you very much for coming. And then the last piece is, so there's a Shirley Chisholm Rec Center that's being built. And so next Wednesday, I will attend a workforce informational event that's hosted by the Lend-Lease Recreation Center project team. So it'll take place at the Evangelical Crusade Christian Church. The agenda as written is P2A and Workforce 1. Don't know what that means, but I'll learn. Non-traditional employment for women, promotion of women's trade involvement, and also union representatives. And so that concludes the chair's report.
Woo!
All right, we did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it special this time? Yeah, let me get this real quick. So now what we're going to do is, wait, yes, Board Member Denise? Yeah, what's up? Mm-hmm. Oh, be careful, be careful, be careful.
Good. No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I was just wondering what we're doing with the remainder of the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity discussions. Are we going to have a discussion as the committee of the whole sometime later this month? And do we have any potential dates we can?
Yes, we do.
For that?
Yes, thank you for that. And so because we did vote yes to empower the committee of the whole, we will be having our committee of the whole meeting for the remaining items on Tuesday, June 25th. No problem. So we will be doing that Tuesday, June 25th at the Community Board 14 District Office. So that's when we'll be going over the remaining 10 items for the City of Yes Housing Opportunity. Thank you very much for that, Board Member Denise. Okay. And so I would be remiss to say there's a bunch of elected representatives of elected officials who are here. I didn't shout you out. It's not because I don't love you. It's just there's a lot to discuss, but I see you folks here. And so, you know, could you just stand and be recognized, please? Yeah, so like Eileen, Abraham, Brian, I see you folks. Mary Kay, like I see you. I saw you come in. I just didn't have like Nancy Lulu. I saw you all, you know. We love you. So we will now go through the topical committees. And so first up, we will have community safety and then the transportation committee. So do I have any co-chairs from community safety? Okay, let's go. Cool. Oops, you got the feedback with the speaker.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, new members. You hear me?
Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback, though. Yeah, you got the speaker behind you, so it's like some
It
feedback.
works if you just hold it. There you go.
Yeah.
Better?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome, new members. My co-chair is not here today, Barden Passant, but we co-chaired a meeting on March 22nd, and we had a few presentations. The first one was Shayna Fuller, the Director of Human Trafficking Unit, and she presented, and basically she said that we all have implicit bias, which basically means that our brain tries to make sense of the world, and unconsciously we pick up different patterns. For example, if we are used to going to seeing a nurse who's female and then all of a sudden there's a male nurse, we might be like, hey, you know, like, so these are just unconscious biases. So the same thing with human trafficking. We seem to have a picture in our head of who might be a human trafficker and who might be a victim of human trafficking, but that's our biases are not correct, and it really could be anyone. She gave an example of a grandmother who was also a priestess who human trafficked people, so it could be anyone. And we have to just know that they pick on vulnerable people like mentally disabled, homeless, neglected, abused people. And they try to recruit young people. And it doesn't have to be actually we think everything's with physical force, but it could also be through blackmailing them. And we should just know that even if something is consensual, if it's involving a child who's under 18, it's considered coerced. So she talked about that in a lot of detail. Also, labor trafficking. There are our immigrants are very much at risk. A lot of times they come into the country, they had to pay someone, and then the people hold their papers and threaten them that they'll get rid of their paperwork. And make them work 14 to 16-hour days. So we could see a lot of times, like, they could be hair braiders or nail salons or like hotel workers or like fruit stand people. So we should just look out for like people who are there are a lot of red flags. So for for the younger people, some of the red flags are if, like, someone's poor and all of a sudden they have a new iPhone or they have new things. If they're all of a sudden very tired, if they're getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of text all of a sudden. These are just things that, could be red flags. And also with older people, if they have some kind of brand of ownership, or they're upset, they're trying to get away from their job, but they just can't, and they're always tired, and there's too many hours. Major flags if they live at the place that they work. That's huge. So we just have to ask a lot of questions and let people know that there are avenues. Like sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm friends with this police officer, or, they think that they have no way out, but we have to let them know that there are ways out. And there are some phone numbers that she gave from the KDCA, which is 718-250-2770. Safe Horizon is 718-943-8652. And the National Human Trafficking Hotline is 888-373-7888. There's also a website that they have for children for them to be able to be more aware of safety for children, which is www.missingkids.org, safety for kids. Then we also had the fire safety education representative.
30 seconds, Board Member Bendel. Sorry.
Okay, he gave a lot of things about fire safety, which are important. There's a lot of grease fires. You should, a lot of times there are fires because you forget about it, you're multitasking. So he said you could put on a mitt if you go out of the room so that you realize that you're still cooking, or that you could put on a timer. Okay, go to our website, and there's a lot of information about safety tips. Sorry, I ran out of time.
Thank you very much, Board Member Bendel. All right, so next up we have Transportation Committee, followed by Housing and Land Use.
Hey, folks. It's your favorite committee chairs, Joel and Musa. Formerly divided, now united on transportation matters. All right, so I'm going to just fill you guys in on what happened on the DOT presentation. They came to present to provide an update on the Cortell U Road, Coney Island Avenue intersection. That's gotten people worked up for the last few years. So in 2018, they had originally made some changes to that intersection. The DOT reported that injuries and incidences had gone down as a result of those changes, but they did see complaints rise during the years that followed. And I think a lot of people in the community understand that intersection to be quite treacherous. So back in September of 2023, the DOT proposed some ideas, some changes to the intersections to try to make it safer. And they received feedback from the public at that time. And then this past June, they came back and combining the feedback they heard at the prior meeting, speaking with some agencies, they're proposing to make a change to the intersection. So they want to, after considering a few different options, they want to implement an all-pedestrian phase at the intersection. After they made that their analysis of that proposal would lead to no change at all to 50% of users at the intersection, and an improvement for about 45%. So a total of about 94% of users of the intersection would either see no change or would see an improvement, and only 6% would see a worsening of the intersection in their experience. So they collected some feedback at the meeting, which I think was mostly or overwhelmingly supportive of some type of change. And the DOT is going to take that feedback, do some more reviews, and then announce an implementation schedule when they want to roll out their final plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Musa. Just so you know, at that intersection, there's going to be no more left turns. No matter what direction you're going in on Cortell, no more left turns. There's going to be a left turn phase for if you're turning east from Coney Island Avenue onto Cortell, so that'll help the buses. And then there'll be the all-pedestrian phase. I have a new acronym for you, NIMTIC, which is the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. We had a presentation from the executive director of NIMTIC, and it's a council of agencies from New York City, Long Island, Lower Hudson Valley for regional transportation planning. As a result of federal law, for us to get money for projects, there has to be regional planning. And so this council is the organization that engages with the local governments to reach a shared regional vision. Federal law requires 20-year planning. NIMTIC does 30-year planning. They've got a program that's now in effect from 2021, and there's a new program. If you want to learn about it, it's very interesting on the NIMTIC website, and then the presentation is on our website, right? All right. And
one last thing. I know the new members are going to be putting in committee preferences. Shout out to the Transportation Committee. You guys should join. It's the best committee. Just throwing that out there. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, so next up we have Housing and Land Use, and then Youth Services, and then quick time check. It's 9 p.m. and we should be out of here by 9:35.
We have to be.
Exactly. I'm being polite. Yeah. The answer is Wayne Rosenfeld and the East Midwood Jewish Center. They love us, but not that much. So yeah, we got to be out here by 9:40. But this time check. So all right, folks, you're up.
All right. Well, we've spoken enough about City AES tonight. So all I'll say on behalf of myself and Joanne Brown, we just want to thank everybody. We want to thank old members, new members, members of the public to be part of this process. Invaluable, every voice. And that's even more important because of the process that will continue from here. As Chair Cesar mentioned, on the 25th, we're going to have our final public hearing. So we invite everyone to come out for that. That's at 6:30, I believe. Is that when we're going to start it? Yes. At the district office? Okay. And just give you a sort of a roadmap of what's left. So, and this has happened for all three steps of City AES. So tonight there is another borough board public meeting which is going on. So there's continuing to discuss these issues. And then again, we have until July 8th to make our own recommendations. And then from there, it's City Planning Commission who ultimately has to have a public hearing, and they're going to weigh on it. And then finally, it goes to City Council for their eventual approval. And every step of the way, they're going to be using our recommendations from not only this board, but all the boards as their guidance. So again, appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing everybody on the 25th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, co-chairs. So next up, we have Youth Services, Education, and Libraries Committee, and then Human Services Committee.
I guess this makes us the second most popular committee. I don't know. Transportation is pretty hot right now. Good evening, everyone. Check. We are the Youth Services, Education, Libraries Committee. We did not have a subcommittee meeting this month, so we have nothing to report from that. Principal Ornella Parker knows that the last day of school is June 26th, so you'll be able to park lots of places. And for all you parents out there, apologies. I did want to note that the New York City Department of Education did something miraculous, and they put the calendars out for the next 2 years. So we know that the first day of school will be Thursday, September 5th, and all the future days off, which you can check out. And last thing, just a local report, the playground that's been under renovation at Coney Island Avenue in Newkirk, which is 217, one of the few green spaces and public parks in the area that is usable by many people, should be open first thing July if School Construction Authority will just come and do the inspection, if you can hear us. But that would be July that opens up again for the community. So I just wanted to report that.
Great.
Thank you, folks, so much.
Good night. Good night. Welcome, new board members. Join us. Transportation's overrated.
New board members are like, man, we're the top draft picks right now. And so next up, we got a Human Services Committee, followed by Community Environment, Cultural Affairs, and Economic Development.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to all our new board members. My name is Florencia Changajita, and
yeah. Could either of you hold the microphone? There's the feedback. So if one of you holds the microphone, the feedback. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So we have no meeting to report. However, please join our committee as well. And And we'll see you in September. We have great things to show. And go to the website. We did a Lunch and Learn series. Please check out our board's website. There's lots of information Sean and Patricia and Sarah has provided. Thank you, and a wonderful summer.
Thank you so much. So next, Community Environment, Cultural Affairs, and Economic Development.
In the interest of time, our committee didn't meet, but please feel free to join our committee. All right.
So if you're a new board member, everybody wants you. It's a great time. And next up, we have the Ad Hoc Transition Committee. And so I left you 70% thunder. Oh, okay. You know, I get it. I was being conservative.
I can't think of a better committee for new board members to join, but the Transition Committee. So now we're your favorite.
And in the essence of time, I'm going to make this really quick, but you guys can always go on our YouTube channel and watch the entire meeting. We did meet, it feels like a decade ago. It was only a couple of weeks. Okay. But we did talk about some findings that we are going to share. So just a couple things. Between 2023 and 2024, about 40% of our board were new members with no previous length of service. Also, during the first 2 years when the term limits are in effect, the board will be about 44% of new members. And then by May 2028, the median length of service on our board will be about 4 years. So during that meeting, the members that were in attendance, we all came to a consensus that we do want to share findings. There's much more findings, so please make sure you guys go look. There's also a PowerPoint that's attached to it with detailed findings, but we do want to share these findings with the borough president prior to the 2025 application closing, just to make sure that we are ensuring the region is racially and ethnic identity and gender identity remains appropriately represented on our board. So that we are working on creating that report over the summer, and those that once it's ready will be shared out. And if you're part of the board, if this the best one, you guys will be a part of that. But it's open for anyone to join. And again, it's just to make sure that our thoughts and these findings are shared with the borough president prior to the closing of the application. Any questions on that, y'all? All right, great.
Thank you so much.
But truly, if you guys have questions, come find us.
Okay.
And fun fact, board members will be assigned to a standing committee, but you can do the ad hoc committee in addition. So it's bonus.
Mm-hmm.
All right, join the bonus committee.
I'm here to help.
All right. So, folks, first thing is let's give a round of applause to Wayne Rosenfeld for the East Midwest Jewish Center for hosting us.
He went home.
That's fine. Wayne's not here. He left. But we're still here, but we can still thank him. And also Mark Moss in the back, right, for live streaming this meeting. And so we couldn't do this without both of them. So thank you so much. So before I go to the public session, first I want to officially recognize the folks who are here. So Avraham, representing Councilmember Farrah-Lewis's office. We have Eileen Mulaney-Newman, representing the Brooklyn Borough President's office. Brian Grady, representing Councilmember Rita Joseph's office. Nancy Lulu, representing the Brooklyn DA's office. And Mary Kay Siri, representing Bobby Carroll's office. Yeah, got you. So basically, we're in the last stretch. It's the public session. The bottom line is no partisan political appeals, advertising of for-profit enterprises. We're going to have a hard 3-minute cap. Hard 3-minute cap. And accordingly, speaking time will be assigned first to speakers from different groups, then to speakers addressing different issues. And so it is 9:08 p.m. And the first speaker is, and let me know if I mispronounce your name, Mark Caserta with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. Did I pronounce your name right? Okay, great. Awesome.
I'll make it less than 3 minutes. My name is Mark Caserta. I'm Vice President of Small Business Support with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. I'm here for a program that we have through the Chamber. The Chamber, everybody kind of knows, is a membership organization. You can pay to join, but this program is free for small businesses. October 2020, the middle of the pandemic, the 5 chambers of commerce came together in the same room. We usually fight. We didn't fight that time. We said, look, we have to do something to help small businesses. We created a program called the Small Business Resource Network. It's basically a one-on-one small business support program. We actually go door to door in a lot of commercial districts, talk to the owners, and if they need help, it's free. You don't have to join, you don't have to do anything, just say, I need help, and we will help you. It's mostly 30% of the help that we give right now is financing. People needed money before the pandemic, they need money after the pandemic. So I'm just leaving information for the district manager. I also have a program called Open and Online, which is free websites for small businesses. Brooklyn leads the pack right now in getting and building those websites. The other boroughs are supposed to catch up. They're not, so we're going to take them. So if you want one, let's get it. That's it.
Cool. Okay. Cool.
Thank you so much, Mr. Caserta.
Thank you so much. I'll be in touch with some walking ideas.
All right, so our next speakers are Jay Taubman and Kathy, do I say Villa or Villa Gomez? Villa Gomez from the Brooklyn Public Library.
Hi, my name is Jay Taubman. Pardon me. Hi, my name is Jay Taubman. I'm the Assistant Branch Manager and Supervising Librarian at the Cortelyou branch of the Brooklyn Public Library. And this is my colleague.
Hello, I am the Young Adult Librarian Trainee at the Cortelyou branch.
Your name. Say your name.
And my name is Kathy Villagomez. Or you can just call me Kat, because we have 2 librarians that are named Kathy.
Thank you. Yes, that's our new Young Adult Librarian Trainee. Mayor Adams' budget was released, and unfortunately it contains about $16 million in cuts for Brooklyn Public Library and about $58 million in cuts overall for the 3 library systems. And it might lead to further reductions in service, including only 5 days of service. Right now, most branches still have 6 days. It would also lead to decreasing spending for essential materials programs and collections. The budget will be decided in June, and there is still time to urge the City Council and the Mayor's office to reverse these cuts. So you can visit investinlibraries.org to add your support. Also, Brooklyn Public Library recently doubled the number of drop-in, no registration English classes offered throughout Brooklyn with support of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. These drop-in classes provide English instruction or education for new arrivals in New York and focus on English skills for navigating and living in NYC. Visit bklymlib.org/ESOL to see all of BPL's offerings involving ESOL. Also, like to add that Brooklyn Public Library has already begun summer reading, and we have a calendar of events for our branch, Cortelyou, at the table there. So if you want to pick it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our next speaker is Eileen Mulaney Newman.
Hi, good evening, everyone. As mentioned earlier, on June 24th at 6:30, our office, BP Reynoso, is hosting a reception, swearing-in ceremony, and an orientation for new community board members. Welcome you all. It is mandatory for all members of the 2024-2026 cohort. Both first-time appointees and reappointees are expected to attend the swearing-in and orientation. Unfortunately, public members cannot join due to capacity issues. The location will be at Borough Hall in person, but it will be live streamed via WebEx. All RSVPs at this point are full, and now we can't accept any more, so it's closed. So if you already RSVP'd to attend in person, we look forward to seeing you. If you haven't already RSVP'd, we look forward to seeing you virtually on WebEx. But unfortunately, we cannot accept any more RSVPs in person. Building is full. Thank you. Have a great summer.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our next speaker is Avraham Malachowski from Councilmember Farrah Lewis's office.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Avraham. I'm representing Councilmember Farrah Lewis. I would like to begin by wishing an Eid Mubarak to those who celebrated, as well as a happy Shavuos to those who celebrated as well, and a happy Father's Day. And I want to take a moment to recognize the fathers, both in District 45 and beyond, and thank them for the silent sacrifices that they make day in and day out to care for their families. In the spirit of Father's Day, Councilmember Lewis held her annual Father's Day golf swing, where children had the opportunity to play golf with their fathers. We thank all the partners who made this a possibility. I would also like to announce our upcoming summer youth sports program. This sports program will include baseball, soccer, tennis, golf, as well as much, much more. There are flyers in the back on the table for those who would like to sign up. Tomorrow, HPD will be in our office from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. to answer any housing questions that you may have. And on June 24th, NILAG will be in front of the COPO office at 1077 Coney Island Avenue. If anyone is seeking any free legal services or free legal referrals, that's the place to be. I would also like to take a moment to announce our annual Juneteenth event. This event will take place on Wednesday, Juneteenth, in front of the Central Library branch of the Brooklyn Library. It will start at 10 a.m. We will have vendors and performances. We invite everyone to come and join us in the celebrations. Tomorrow, our office is joining with Assembly Member Helene Weinstein and Councilmember Common Yeager to host a paper shredding event in front of the Flatlands Reformed Church at 3391 Kings Highway. It will be running from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And now on to legislation. In response to the terrible tragedy that occurred in our district earlier this year, Councilmember Lewis is sponsoring legislation to require annual inspections of steam radiators. Landlords who do not comply with these regulations will be severely penalized. Councilmember Lewis is determined that tragedies such as that which occurred earlier cannot and will not ever occur again. Councilmember Lewis is chairing a hearing on her Committee on Women and Gender Equity at City Hall on Tuesday, June 25th, where several city agencies will testify regarding our city's physical and mental health support for new and expecting parents. Councilmember Lewis will have a number of bills heard towards her goal of improving health outcomes for women and striving for maternal equity. We invite those who have been affected by maternal disparities or pregnancy loss, along with their loved ones, to come and testify. As always, our office is located at 1434 Flatbush Avenue. We are open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. We can be reached by calling us at 718-629-2900. That's 718-629-2900. And if anyone has any further questions or concerns or just wants to say hi, I'll be hanging around afterwards. And thank you for bearing with us thus far. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, Abraham. All right, great. So our next speaker is Nancy Lulu.
And while Nancy's making her way there, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity, since I have a microphone in front of me, to thank Melissa Minnick for reminding me to remind you all tomorrow a heat wave is beginning. Cooling centers will be open starting tomorrow. Find one by calling 311 or our office, or you can find it on nyc.gov/beattheheat. Thank you. Thank you very much, Melissa.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I bring greetings on behalf of DA Gonzalez to everyone. I just wanted to share that last week, Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez announced the seizure of 70 online domains that targeted Russian community in the cryptocurrency scam, which is called the pig butchering scam. So victims are being targeted through Facebook ads. It was identified that over 20 20 Brooklyn victims from Brighton Beach, Borough Park, Midwood, Sheepshead Bay, Ocean Parkway, Manhattan Beach, and Kensington and other neighborhoods lost over $1 million. The Brooklyn District Attorney's Office continues to respond to complaints from Brooklyn residents who fell victim to this growing problem of cryptocurrency scams. If you believe that you are a victim, you could reach out to our office at 718-250-2340. You could also visit our website at brooklynda.org to read about this press release along with other press releases. I do have flyers up front with tips how to avoid becoming a victim. And I also would like to wish everyone that observed Shavuot a happy and joyful holiday, as well as to our Muslim brothers and sisters, Eid Mubarak, happy Pride, happy belated Father's Day. And finally, I would like to also welcome the new community board members, Community Board 14, one of the greatest community boards, I must say, that I work with. And also thank you for allowing me to speak this evening, and have a great summer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Thank you. So our next speaker is Brian Grady. I see what you did there, Nancy. I see what you did there. Well played. Well played. You planned that.
That's it. That's it.
Yep.
Oh, I have to hold it? Okay, I can do that.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Brian Grady with Councilmember Joseph's office. I think most of you all know me. I will, in the interest of time and my rumbling belly, forgo going through all of my events here. I will highlight the Juneteenth celebration that the council members are going to be hosting on Thursday this week at 6:30. That's going to be the Brooklyn Public Library, the Central Branch, in Grand Army Plaza. So I have that flyer along with others with some of our family events, as well as the HPD and NILAG band that we'll also have at our office. I also just want to thank everybody for their contributions today on City of Yes. This is obviously going to be an ongoing discussion that we're going to be having over the summer in the run-up to the council voting on that in October. We've thank you to those of you who've spoken to me tonight, and to those who've reached out to our office. We will be having some sort of listening sessions throughout the summer, throughout the community, so that we're hearing from the broad community as well as the voices that are here in the community boards. So just keep an eye out for that. We are open every day, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 5, at our office at 930 Flatbush Avenue. You can always feel free to reach us at 718-287-8762. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. All right, so next up we have Florencia Chang Acheda. It's good we still got humor at this point, man.
Good evening again, everyone. I just wanted to say that Carmel Depression and Anxiety Wellness Foundation will be collaborating with the Cortell U Brooklyn Public Library branch to host mental wellness workshop sessions. They begin July 2nd and ends on August 6th, and they start at 6:30 through 7:45 p.m. Please join. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I want to give, a shout out, flowers, whatever you want to call it, to the speakers who waited so long to speak. I want to thank the members of the public who stayed. I want to thank, my board members as well, because this isn't easy, this is hard. So I want to thank all of you. And so this concludes the public comment period. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I already knew. I just have to be procedural. Seconded. So this meeting is adjourned at 9:23. Have a good summer, folks.
And I'm sorry, I do have to ask you all to leave expeditiously so that we clear the building. Thank you. No, go, Eric, go.
You gotta go,
Get out of here,
man.
Eric.
You gotta go.
Get
You
out
gotta
of here,
go.
man.
You gotta go. Sports is happening, man. It's game 5, Eric.
Okay.
You gotta go, man.
I can't see them, so take the language.
I know, it's over.
I put my
It's this out literally by 9:30. I know. Had to.
Do you want flyers?
Well, that's good stuff, you know. It's just like with the 9:30 thing, we had to get